Welcome back to Phoenix Dreams, and this is SpeakWrite with Sid episode 15. We wound up with figures of speech last Saturday, and we'll do something new today. Now this video comes as a special request, so this is for you, Sapna, and for your son. We're going to talk about punctuation marks today. Now punctuation marks are something which is very, very critical, not just for the English language, but for any language for that matter, because it is these tiny little symbols that are part of a written or oral language, which really add meaning to what you say. It is those little pauses, those changes in differentiation in tones that really convey or communicate what you're really trying to say. And if they're not used in the right place, the meaning of what you're trying to say can be very, very adverse than what you're trying to communicate. So they're extremely critical, and the usage is very, very important. There are about 10 punctuation marks that we will talk about, and we'll do this in various videos. We won't do them all at one go. Okay, so we will talk about 3 punctuation marks today. We'll talk about the full stop or the period, we'll talk about the comma, and we'll talk about the semicolon. Starting with the full stop. The full stop is a symbol which is it's a small little dot, and it's primarily used to signify completion. You use it at the end of a sentence to let the person who you're communicating with know that you're done with whatever you wanted to communicate. It signifies finality. And it doesn't just signify finality in the way it looks, it also signifies finality in the way it sounds. Now, if you remember, I said some time back that punctuation marks are important not just in written communication but in oral communication also. And it's a very important aspect that punctuation marks also have their own sound. And as a listener, it is important for us to listen to those punctuation marks to be better communicators by being better listeners. So the full stop or the period, full stop in British English and period in American English, is something which signifies finality by its symbol, which is the dot, or by its sound. So whenever, as I'm talking to you and you listen to me, you will be able to hear these punctuation marks. This sentence that I'm talking right now, for example, it finished with a finality, So by the tone of what I'm saying, you know that there is nothing more that is going to come in as far as this sentence is concerned, because it always ends in a downward tone, right? So that's where the full stop is used primarily. There's another use of that symbol, the dot, which is along with abbreviations. Whenever you use abbreviations in the English language, you use dots to signify that it is not the complete word, but it's an acronym or a abbreviation. For example, you do not write for example entirely. You write e.g., which is Latin exempli gratia. So you write e.g. to signify that the e.g. there is an abbreviation of something. So the dot, the period, the full stop is used to signify finality or end of a sentence, or it can also be used to signify abbreviations, right? Then moving on to the second punctuation mark, which is the comma. Now, like the full stop signifies finality, the comma signifies continuity. The comma tells you, the reader or the listener, that there's something more to come, that I haven't finished speaking or writing what I intend to about that specific topic. So when I use a comma, like I just did, I used a comma in the sentence. When I use a comma, I signify that I haven't finished speaking and there's more to come. So the comma also has a sound, and it has an upward movement as opposed to the full stop, which is direct, final and going down. The comma has an upward movement of the tone. So when I use a comma, I signify that there is more to come. So that's what the comma says. The comma tells the listener, wait, hold on, I haven't finished. I have something more to say. It tells the reader, there is more information coming, so read further. So that's the importance of a comma. And the comma also can be used in 3 ways while you're communicating. The first is when you're trying to address somebody. So as an example, you say, Siddharth, you aren't listening to me. It can also be used the other way around. You aren't listening to me, Siddharth. So when you're trying to address a specific person, when you want to draw their attention, you say their name, use the comma, and then say what you want to. Or you say what you want to, use the comma, to use a pregnant pause to gather people's attention, and then you say the name. So a comma can be used when you're addressing someone. The second usage of the comma is when you are trying to join 2 clauses which have some sort of connection, which are connected, which are related. A clause is a group of words which may or may not be a sentence. It can be just a group of words which don't have a sentential meaning on its own, or it can be two sentences which are connected and you want to join them together to establish a relationship between the two. You use a comma. An example of that could be, we went to the beach and then we went for a swim. So you hear the pause there. So I'm communicating through the pause, through the comma, that there is more that I need to tell you about my visit, our visit. We went to the beach and then we went for a swim. The and the comma together play the role of joining these two clauses here. That's the second use of the comma. And the third use of a comma is when you want to combine a few elements of description in one sentence, and is often used with adjectives. A common example of that was, he was tall, dark and handsome. So there are three descriptive words here which describe the man: tall, dark and handsome. So I put a comma after tall, I put a comma after dark, and then I mention. Now the second comma after dark can be replaced, or can be missing, because there is the and over there. So that depends on the preference of the writer, whether you want to include the third comma or not. And I'm writing all of it over here so you understand what I'm talking about. So it can be tall, comma, dark, comma, and handsome, or it can be tall, comma, dark and handsome. The second comma is not a mandate. It's not compulsory. It's up to you entirely, right? So it is used when the comma is used when you want to add a few elements of a sentence which are especially descriptive words or adjectives, right? So that's the comma. The third we're going to talk about today is a semicolon. Now the semicolon is a mix of these, and that's why it looks also like a combination of the period and the comma, where you use both symbols, the dot as well as the comma signal. This is used when you want to connect two clauses which might not be connected to each other, but you want to communicate that though independently on their own they sound as if they are not connected, there is a relation that you want to establish. It is a pause. It has a similar sound like as a comma. I was hurt. His behavior was something I did not like. So there are these two sentences which could have been, separate sentences with full stops. However, what I've done is I've used a semicolon sound, and if I was writing it, I would have used a semicolon to mention that I was hurt, and the reason I was hurt was that person's behavior. So I've connected two unrelated clauses by using a semicolon, by establishing a relationship between the two by using the semicolon. So the semicolon is something which establishes a relationship between two sentences which otherwise might sound unconnected or unrelated. So it establishes relations. It sounds similar to a comma. It has an upward swirl to the tone, right? Okay, so yeah, we'll stop here. That's it. We've spoken about the full stop, the comma and the semicolon today. We'll be back with a few more punctuation marks next Saturday. Thank you very much for your time, your patience, your likes, shares and subscribes. Please continue watching Phoenix Dreams, and if you like what you watch, please share. Until next time.